Right, so people have complained about the Polluted Wastelands 2 rework being too difficult. It's not really the case where the developers didn't test out, or there wasn't a bunch of testers who didn't test Polluted Wastelands 2, which is the main complaint that people have had with this new rework. People have said, oh, the testers didn't test this out, or well, the testers didn't use the War Machine, for example. They used the War Machine for testing, which they didn't. I've been assured by the testers that they did not use the War Machine for testing. Basically, Polluted Wastelands is meant to be what? I played with this person. Anyways, no, the main issue that people have had is that the fact that they're using the farm in Polluted Wastelands 2, even though you shouldn't use the farm. The fact that it has 25 waves, it says it in the update log, should be an indication that you should not be using the farm. Now, this person here has brought the farm, not to shame them on anything, because, you know, it could be a loadout that they default to. But with the economy in this game, or this game mode, the fact that everyone gets the same amount of cash, that should be an indication that you really should not need the farm. So I'm just saying, it is difficult, yes, but you need to get out the hive mind of the fact that it is possible. It's just that you either don't know how to adapt to the new game mode where you can't use the farm, the Golden Cowboy isn't going to be useful here, and you might need to bring the Golden Crook boss plus some other towers. It's not like one loadout suits everyone. No, you're gonna have to get either hella lucky with matchmaking or hella organized. And yes, it makes it very difficult to matchmake for this. Yes, you have to get very, very lucky. But, you know, otherwise, how else would it be difficult? I mean, I actually do approve of the concatenation down to 25 waves, because that way, it does make the farm a bit of a redundant tool. And the only way you're really going to, nerf the farm is reduce the amount of waves that a game mode has. And this is like a game mode where you need to perfectly strategize with your teammates. It's not like you can't sit there in silence. For example, the hidden waves, for example, the waves which have hidden enemies with the, well, I call it the overgrowth, they've renamed it to something else here. You're going to have to strategize with your teammates if they have any hidden defense. I don't have any hidden defense currently with me, right? Actually, I do have the engineer, but for the most part, if you want to win this, you're going to have to strategize with other players, because you don't want to go too overboard with hidden defense, since it will probably cannibalize your damage for other things. So actually, the trapper's not actually a bad shout here. Then again, we probably need more defense. This is... Oh, not actually. The pursuit does exist. Very cool. Now, the one argument that I do kind of agree with is Wave 25, where there's actually too many enemies on Wave 25. That I kind of agree with. I don't know why it has so much enemies. And if anything, if there is something to be changed on Polluted Wastelands 2, it'll probably be Wave 25. The earlier waves, I think they're all perfectly fine. I'll be totally frank with you. Yeah, it's difficult, but Polluted Wastelands 2 is meant to be difficult. It's like one of the hardest game modes right now. In fact, when it was released, it was one of the hardest game modes. So if you're complaining about it being too hard, I guess, get good. Again, it is possible. It may not be possible without golden towers or whatever, but do bear in mind that the level requirement for this is level 50. So you're kind of expected to use stuff like the engineer, stuff like the golden towers. I assume you could probably try and use normal crook bosses or whatever, but the fact that it's locked to level 50s and above just goes to show that, yeah, you probably do need towers like the engineer, like the accelerator, stuff like that. And certainly on solo mode, I don't see this ever being possible. I don't think Polluted Wastelands 2 previously was possible solo, but here it's even more not possible. Oh, and yes, I'm bringing the Swarmer because it is secretly a good tower to use if you know how to use it correctly. And it's quite cheap as well. Now, obviously, as time will go on, as people discover Polluted Wastelands 2 for what it is and use new strategies to beat this, they'll realise that it probably isn't as difficult as you make it out to be currently right now. I mean, that's the case with all reworks. You're going to have to adapt to the new meta for the game mode, and the fact that this is a totally new meta, not really totally new, but the fact that it's totally different to the other reworks that we see previously, is actually, I think, a good thing. I think this is a good rework. And again, we are about to lose because we don't have enough hidden detection. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, forget what I said. Polluted Wastelands 2, too difficult. And for some reason, people have complained about the eco in Polluted Wastelands 2, when the eco for Polluted Wastelands 2 is better than Pizza Party and Badlands 2, based on the fact that you don't need to actually damage the enemies to actually get the cash. It's the same for for all people, this would be much easier with consumables. Of course it would be much easier with consumables. That's too much of an easy thing. The economy for Polluted Wastelands 2 is fine. The reason why you don't think it's fine is because you're using the farm, probably. Just don't bring the farm and you'll be golden. I'll be just 100% honest with you. Oh, and another thing is that because most of these enemies, after the Waste Walker and the Waste Runner, they'll have like no freeze and no stun, it will come to a point where using the Chiromancer or the Sledger or anything that freezes, for example, will be pretty useless. Now, the Electroshocker, it's more effective against enemies with no stun because it can still somewhat stun them. Meanwhile, if an enemy has no freeze and you use a freezing tower, it's going to be completely useless against them in terms of slowing them down. So the Electroshocker, and to a lesser extent, I guess the Warden is going to be effective against this, or effective against this game mode. But other than that, yeah, stalling towers using that, not as effective. Also, I'd like to point out the accelerator is actually kind of good in Polluted Wastelands 2, given that its range is actually set up for this map. But additionally, you can see hiddens, and it is very cost effective. That's the one thing about the accelerator that people don't realise, is that it is actually a very cost effective tower. And apart from Wave 25, there are actually no enemies that stun in Polluted Wastelands 2, so the accelerator is actually kind of useful here. Right, I need to rant a little bit. I know this is a Polluted Wastelands video, but this man, right, I'm naming and shaming, this person who brought farms in Polluted Wastelands 2 and only upgraded it to level 4. This is an abomination. Also, I don't understand why people are using the Brawler of all towers in Polluted Wastelands 2 when there's an entire map to cover. There's like all of this space, and yet you decide to bring a tower that has the shortest range to not take advantage of this. Why? I don't know. Furthermore, the Brawler can't see hiddens. I mean, like, something like the Mortar can't see hiddens, but at least it can actually damage hiddens if there's, like, another enemy nearby. I also don't know why it needs to be said, because I thought it would be obvious, but no, the Brawler is not a good tower for this map. Early on, yes, the Brawler's fine, and I guess the pushback is fine if the enemy doesn't have no stun, but obviously later on, not as good. Ooh, what's this? Hex Corpse Upper has been added to your logbook, so you can actually get the upper corpse, upper part of the corpse, for the Hexgate. Well, the Hex Corpse, which is called the Splitter, but it's weird. Oh, and here's some advice for you. Have a Ranger set to last to get rid of the Mutagenic Blight, because those are annoying as all heck, and they're always often the last ones because they're slow. So if you want to get rid of them quickly, just set a Ranger to like last or something. So yes, as you can see here, the Mutagenic Blight is killed instantly by the Ranger and the Engineer here, which are both set to last, so that it doesn't affect something like the Amalgamations having Nimble or something to like completely speed them all up. Oh, and this is another reason why the Gatling Gun is probably a good tower to use here, just to get rid of the mutated blights. I mean, another thing is that it lags quite a fair bit, I must say, this game mode. Yeah, if you're mobile, yeah, I think you're a bit screwed. Wait, this is the last wave again, so keep that in mind. The nuclear monster I just realised has bloated. I think it's bloated because otherwise the thing. What's the I forgot what the enemy that actually applies the bloated effect to all enemies is. It's the the mutagenic blight, right? Yeah. So that's why the boss has bloated so that it doesn't affect it. But obviously, just make sure that once all of these are dead. Yeah, right, they're all dead, so none of them have bloated anymore. Very cool, or none of them nimble. Yeah, this is lagging pretty hard. I don't know if you can see it, if it's lagging pretty hard, but it is lagging very, very hard. And yes, as you can see, I would say we're close to defeating the nuclear monster. This swarmer here has dealt 178,000 damage. Probably might lose. Let's see. Oh, this is going to be tight. This is generally going to be very, very tight. We might just lose this. Oof. That's close. But it is possible. Just set your Rangers to like last on the blights, and then you're grand for that wave.